sensation, right? You cannot achieve anything without the mindset. With that said, what advice would you give, Ryan? 1, 2, 3 max items. If you're starting a business from scratch, and our leaders, our listeners, they're here to learn, how do I do this? How give me a hope, they might be saying, to be able to have success. You didn't take money in. You started a business that went from 0 to 10 million with no outside investment to accelerate any of that. How did you do it? What are the lessons? 1, 2, 3 things you would give to our regular subscribers and viewers?
So for me, the most important thing, when like this goes back to mindset, and this goes back to beyond the tactical and the strategy in the presentation, right? And so now we know what sells. We know that telling people about the features and the where to click and all the cool things about.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to another session of fun, Fearless Founders, because we got our fun Fenn on our call today, Ryan Fenn. We love this man. You're going to love him. He's so different. Ryan, welcome to the show. Thanks for giving us some of your time.
Thank you so much for having me, Benoit. I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
I know Ryan from a great offsite that we had together. And the reason we've got Ryan here is he's got some very unique qualities, starting off with this business that he's created called Chirp. But let's not jump to it. Let's go backwards and get a little bit of context. Ryan, tell us about how you didn't finish school, and tell us about how you started up with Chirp and that journey to get there with your glass business. Tell us, regale us with your story.
Sure. So yeah, I've always been entrepreneurial. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I have this weird chip on my shoulder that I don't know if I went to school, or I went to college and got an MBA or did all of that, and then I was successful, I would feel like people would say, you're only successful because you got your MBA at this college, and then the college would get the credit. It's this weird like insecurity that I have, but it made me want to just get away from school. I didn't want to be a part of that system for whatever reason, good or bad, whatever it is. I didn't like it. And so when I was 16, I dropped out of high school. I went and did my own thing. I sold stuff, did all different kinds of things. I served a mission for my church in the Philippines for 2 years. Came home. My parents did apply pressure for me to go to college. And so I got my certificate from high school to say that I could go to college, and so I would bounce around. I did a few semesters here and there to try to, just appease my parents. And there was just kind of this point where I just said, I'm not doing this. And I finally just threw in the towel on college and really threw in the towel on trying to satisfy my parents, and said, I just want to do what I want to do. And so I quit going to school, and I had been messing around with different businesses. I learned a lot about digital marketing. I did some affiliate marketing, just trying all different things in my 20s, just to see what stuck, and had some little successes here and there. But it wasn't until my first son was born when I was 27 or 28, where I really started to see some business success. And I believe that does come down to the fact that I did have more mouths to feed than mine. And it, forced me into success in a way that was just gives you that extra drive when you have a child to feed. And so I started a windshield repair business. I had actually been working. I had been working for a windshield repair guy for a couple of months at a car wash. We would just, cars would come in, we'd wipe down their windshield when they go to vacuum. And if they had a chip in their windshield, we'd offer to fix that chip right there on the spot. And it worked really well. And it wasn't until I was working for this guy and things were going good, but I find out that he was doing some pretty shady things as an owner. He was taking customers' information, doing false insurance claims and different things that made me not sleep at night. And so I was really bummed because it was a good job. I was able to pay my rent and everything was good. And so I was pretty bummed that he was doing these things, and I knew immediately I couldn't work for him anymore. So I quit immediately. And I had a few $100, so I bought my own windshield repair kit online. And the problem was I didn't have a car wash to operate out of. Right, that was his lead source. That's how he was getting leads to sell to. And so the first thing was, well, I'm just going to go door to door. And so I started knocking doors, and I would just say, hey, I fix windshields. Do you have a chip in your windshield? And lo and behold, it worked. And people would say, oh, you know what? I do have a chip in my windshield. And then we'd fix chips going door to door. And I'd make like $200 or $300 in an afternoon, which was more money than I had ever made. And I thought, man, this is pretty cool. So then that I did that all summer long that summer. And then it's Thanksgiving. It was around Thanksgiving time. I went down to see my parents in California, and I was at this gas station getting gas. I remember because we were all together as a family going to the movies for one of the days that we were down there. And this person came up and washed our windshield at the gas station, and a light bulb went off. I was like, oh man, gas stations, those have tons of people coming in and out every day. Man, I could get in front of so many people. So we come back to Utah. That first day I get back, I go straight to this gas station near my house, and I just go to the owner and I say, hey, I have this idea where I'm going to wash everybody's windshields as a courtesy. It'll be good for your business because people will be like, oh, that's nice. Thanks for washing my windshield. A little differentiator from the gas station next door. And then if they have a chip in the windshield, I'll offer to fix it. And so he was all on board for it. And we started that Saturday, and I did, that first Saturday, I did $1,000 in repairs at that gas station. And so I was on top of the world, right? I'm like, dang, you're rich. And I'm washing windshields. Hey, thanks for coming into Mike's Chevron. Oh, by the way, you have a chip on your windshield here, so you can pull over here. We'll take care of it for you. We'd fix the chips. And I didn't do anything shady like the other owner. Just want to get that out there. This worked really well. And we started hiring people. We started getting more gas stations. And then we got to where we had a guy from a dealership, a Nissan dealership. He came in and was getting gas, and he asked, he's like, what are you guys doing out here? And we explained it to him. And he said, well, we have cars coming in every day for service at the Nissan dealership. And you could put somebody up there and they could also be doing this. So we got somebody in the Nissan dealership. Next thing you know, we were in the Honda dealership and the Toyota dealership. And we were growing this little local windshield repair business, and it was going great. And I'm the one that's never satisfied with anything ever. And so I wanted to go like, how do I take this bigger? How do I go bigger with this? And I had the idea. This was like 2014. I had the idea, and I've always liked the idea of helping other entrepreneurs and being in sort of an environment where I'm working with other entrepreneurs. So I came up with the idea to start an online course, how to start and grow a profitable windshield repair business. So I sat in my room. I had a little computer. It was a Mac Mini, and I had PowerPoint, and I built PowerPoint presentations on how to run a windshield repair business, how to approach people at the gas station, how to get a gas station, how to get the owner to agree to do it, how to actually do the repairs, how to get the insurance people involved so that they'll cover the costs and all this. So I built this little course. I hosted it in WordPress with a little membership area, and I started selling this course. I reached out to the windshield repair equipment manufacturer, and I said, hey, I have this idea. Would you be willing to put my logo on your equipment? White label. He was all for it. And I put together a package, $3,000. We had two packages, $1,500 and $3,000. That got you a kit and coaching from me and access to this little training area. And so we started advertising this. We advertised I put it on Craigslist. I put it in like classified ads where businesses for sale, business for sale. I put start your own windshield repair business, and I started getting leads and I started making money. We started doing, these trainings, and we sold, I want to say we sold maybe $50,000 worth of this training program through those free advertising methods. And then I want to, obviously want to scale from there. So I started running Facebook lead ads, and lead ads are a pre-built funnel on lead ads, where if you click the ad, a form pops up on Facebook with the user's information already there. They click submit, and now I've captured a lead without the person ever leaving Facebook. And so the ad said, start your own windshield repair business, learn how to do it, click here. They click there, they submit. I was getting leads for really cheap, for about $1.35 per lead, per opt-in, but they were really hard to convert. I couldn't convert them. I'd call them and they'd say, oh yeah, tell me more about it. And then I'd explain it. And then they go, okay, call me back, whatever. And it was really hard to convert these leads. I was doing webinars. I would invite them to come to a webinar and they'd sit through the webinar. And I found that the webinar would close some deals. So if I could get them to come to the webinar, I could close the deal. They could learn all about it. They could get excited. They get to know me a little bit. And then I'd close the deal. So then I did this webinar and I recorded it. And now I have a 45-minute webinar. And I'm like, well, why do I have to do the webinar over and over again? If I'm saying the same things over and over again, why don't I just record it and automate that process? So what I did was recorded the video, a text. When the lead came in, I would text the lead and I would say, hey, it's Ryan with GlassPoint. Thank you so much for your interest in starting a windshield repair business. Please watch this presentation and let me know if it interests you. And I would send them a link to the 45-minute video, right? There's the magic right there. I would text them and I would let them consume a piece of content that took them from top of funnel to bottom of funnel. What is windshield repair to shut up and take my money? Is that 45 minutes, right? And after the 45 minutes, they would then book a call on my Calendly, and then we would get on the call and close the deal. By that time we get on the call, they're actually a warm prospect. They understand what the business is. They understand that it costs money to do this. They've gone through the whole process. And now it's just a matter of whether or not they have the funds to, start their business. And we would come up with resources and we would do payment plans and stuff like that. But the key was that automation, that beginning part where we contacted the leads very quickly and then allowed them to consume a pre-recorded sales pitch. So basically my perfect sales pitch that was a 45-minute webinar ended up selling me $2 million worth of program. So I talk about this a lot, this big impact that you can have with automation these days, where it's like I can take something that is really effective and I can get it out in front of a lot of people rather than doing it one-to-one to one-to-one to one. So that idea is really where Chirp came from, automation process of texting leads to follow up with their leads. And so me, again, not being satisfied, said, how do I go even bigger? How do I do something bigger? And that's where the idea of Chirp came in. And so partnered up with an old friend of mine who knows how to engineer. And I said, hey, can you build this software? I don't know how to build. I'm not a software guy. Can you build it? He said, yes. And I said, okay, we need some money. So I went to a family friend and I borrowed some money and we started building Chirp. And now we paid that loan back. And we've been a profitable company since then. And now we've scaled the business we're pushing 10 million ARR. So from the washing windows in the gas station to 10 million ARR, you just got the snapshot, the high level picture.
Can we take a break here, like the breathe and just digest all this? It's like a few observations. This country still is the land of opportunity for those who are willing to do the work and be intentional, right? Just be intentional about it and then and go after it. There is an opportunity around every corner. I think it's one of the most unique things I've heard here is like your relentless of uneasiness, like what's next and like how do I scale this one and scale that one and how do I scale this one and it's amazing the leaps that you had, like how you connected the dots. Like if I am doing the gas stations, you could have said I'm going to go to more gas stations, but you realize the better way to scale is the training it so that you can do it nationwide, right? And then you again your mind was in the right way of scaling it, and how do I turn this into a software now, right? Those pivot moments, I hope our listeners are like paying attention. It's not just I'm going to do hard work and be intentional about it, but what's the next step is, how is that, like, do you have any like clues or the way
Yeah, you know,
look at things that can help more people do that?
that's a really good question, because I've been thinking about this lately, and Benoit has helped me open my mind to a lot of things, and there's some books that I can recommend. But the thing that I think is the most important is thinking from a revolutionary standpoint. Always thinking in terms of not how do I make this better, how do I do something 10 times bigger? How do I take what I've learned, and how, like, I'm looking at my business now as a $10 million business, and I'm going, I don't want to be a $20 million business. I want to be a $100 million business. So instead of thinking in terms of $20 million, where I go, okay, let's incrementally add these things and we'll get to 20 million this way, I'm going, no. How do I get to 100 million? And what do I have to do to this to revolutionize the entire business? I don't even want it to look like this when I get to 100 million. It's going to look totally different. And so I have to think in terms of, this is what got me to 10 million. It's like the gas stations. Like, this is what got me to like a few $100,000 a year. And I could see the next gas station would get me to 350, and the next one would get to 400,000, or how do I get to 4 million or 2 million or 3 million, and that's where I was like, okay, I have to rethink the whole thing. What have I learned, and what can I do now at a much bigger scale, and now work backwards from that.
Amazing.
So yeah, it's a mindset. It's like a pattern where you feel like you've hit a ceiling of your trajectory, and then you don't just go, let's just keep going on that trajectory. Let's lock this in and figure out how to do something just much, much bigger and work backwards from there.
Can I go on that topic that Ike started off? It's common, and I see it frequently as I'm with many startup CEOs and many scaling CEOs, that they feel that they're in a unique position, having come from an underdog position, whether it be, hey, I left high school at 16, or in the case of Ike, I came over with just a few $100 or $100 in my pocket and started a business. We're always pushing against the norm. And every one of our listeners and viewers, I know they're feeling this. So what advice would you give them, knowing that this is an uphill battle? We're the underdogs. What does it take to succeed in developing a business that gets over the hump?
You and I have had these conversations, this mindset, this sort of, this is like the deep stuff that you and I have gotten into, where, we could sit here and talk about tactics and strategies all day long, but if your mindset is not there, those tactics and strategies they'll never work, because it's like when we would sell door to door, or I've met with teams that sell door to door, and you have one guy who's at the door crushing it, right? He's saying the same exact words as the guy next to him, but the guy next to him for some reason can't close a single deal. And it's like, if you took his words and put them down on paper, you'd be like, they're exactly the same person. The words are the same thing, saying all the same stuff. But if you look at the guy who's closing deals, he's got a mindset about him that puts off an energy that attracts deals and attracts people to him to say yes. And I think what the world does really good at is it beats people down to think that they're not who they're supposed to be. And they beat them down by saying things like, oh, you don't have the education for that. You don't deserve something like that. You're ugly, you're stupid, whatever, all these different things that beat people down to say, well, sure, Ryan, you could go do that, but I have these problems and I couldn't do it. And I certainly empathize, and I would never say, like, you're not worthy of that. I empathize totally. But at the same time, the thing that I think that has been unique about my journey is that I was raised to believe that I am a child of God. I'm a divine creation, Therefore, I don't need any outside validation to be whatever I want to be. Because if I'm a divine creation, what more is there? I don't need an accolade from somebody else to tell me, you're worthy now because you have this piece of paper, or you're worthy now because of this or that. I have everything I've always needed, which is to say I'm a divine creation with divine this ability to create, and I have a journey. And so I think for the underdogs that are listening to this, you can say, well, I'm kind of proof in the pudding, and so is Ike, coming from another country. That's always so amazing to me. Somebody come to another country and then builds a business like that. To me, the thought to me of leaving this country, going to China, and then being like, "Okay, learn their language and start a business." That's crazy. So hats off to you, Ike. But we're all proof. We're all Illinois too. We're all proof right here. That it's like you don't need anything other than your relentless spirit and your confidence and your belief that you can do it. I always say business is about two things, or business is 90% confidence and 10% confidence. So, and that's really what it comes down to. So,
how do you explain your drive? Because you keep doing it. You're on your second startup in tech.
I may not be so smart if I keep doing the same thing, but I love building products. That's my passion. I think if you remember, Bino, you and I were on a hike behind your house one day, and I was telling I'm always on the lookout for opportunities to improve something. A moment doesn't go by. I'm looking for opportunities on everything I do, everywhere I go. It's just a mindset. I think mindset starts everything off. And those people who are stuck, they have some kind of shackles, right? Like they've been trained or conditioned to
program
be in fear. Right? They're programmed. Whether it's a family or environment, maybe some unfortunate thing happened to them. I think if we can open their eyes a little bit, where look, you need to get past all those, you need to recognize those, and then if you attack, and if you train your mind to be in the right mindset, and then you can come up with the tools and the friends and everything else you need in life to be successful. It's like nobody has everything from the beginning, but you have the right mindset, and then you start, and then you recognize where you need help, and then you reach out.
Yeah, well put. Nobody feels like they've got enough money. Everyone says, how do I start this with no money? How do I pay everybody? How do I convince people to join me with no compensation? Right? You cannot achieve anything without the mindset. With that said, what advice would you give, Ryan? 1, 2, 3 max items. If you're starting a business from scratch, and our leaders, our watchers, listeners, they're here to learn, how do I do this? Give me a hope, they might be saying, to be able to have success. You didn't take money in. You started a business that went from 0 to 10 million with no outside investment to accelerate any of that. How did you do it? What are the lessons? 1, 2, 3 things you would give to our regular subscribers and viewers?
So for me, the most important thing, when like this goes back to mindset, and this goes back to beyond the tactical and the strategy, but to me, authenticity is the absolute key to starting something from nothing. Okay, let me explain. I used to do stand-up comedy in my 20s, and one night I'm at the club, and Pauly Shore was there. Either if you're old, if you're old like me or any of us here, you probably know who Pauly Shore is. Pauly Shore.
Immigrants just ignore this.
Yeah. Look up Pauly Shore. He's a famous actor from the 90s, and he's a comedian. And he was famous for being, really obnoxious and loud and like a total stoner type guy. But anyways, He was at the club and he gave me actually some of the best advice I've ever had in my life. I sat down with him and I said, Paulie, I try to talk to as many comedians as I can. Can you give me a piece of advice that you would give a young starting comedian? And he says, Ryan, nobody cares about your opinion about airplane food until they care about you as a person. And so I said, okay, what do you mean? He goes, well, if I go on the stage and do an airplane food joke, just a generic joke, they'll laugh because they know who Pauly Shore is and they love me. But if you get on stage and you do the same joke, generic airplane food joke, they won't laugh. They'll just say it's generic. And so you have to start with who you have to sell yourself first and get the audience to love you by telling the story of you first. That's the only thing that you have that's unique to you in this world. Everything now, especially now, everything's a commodity. Every service, everything, nobody's creating anything that's like revolutionary products. They're creating revolutionary stories and using those stories to sell these commoditized products, right? And so the goal is to look at yourself and say, what's unique about my story? How can I tell that story to then push my product? So you guys have heard me tell my story. The way that I sell Chirp now is exactly how it came to be. I tell my unique story. Now they care about me as a human being and they go, I like that guy. I want to do business with that guy. Whatever he has to sell me, I'll buy it. Doesn't matter what it is because that's a subconscious thing, obviously. So the key is to look at your life and say, what do I know? What am I good at? What's my unique story? And then how do I develop a product around that? How do I develop a service around that story? You guys have noticed like Chick-fil-A is not very good chicken. I don't know. People freak out about Chick-fil-A. It's not very good. But they love the story of Chick-fil-A. They love that it's God's chicken and that the people smile when you show up. And there's like this great story behind how it became. And that's how Chick-fil-A became big. Not because they have great chicken. You've been fooled into thinking it's great chicken. It's the story that sells their chicken. And so so that would be my advice at the beginning is to really have authenticity. Approach this from a human standpoint of, I want to connect with people. I want to provide a service through me, but I want them to buy it because they know, like, and trust me as a human first. When people would come into the gas station and I went to wash the windshields, I would strike up a conversation. I would tell them what we're doing. Oh yeah, it was great. This is how we did it. And then this is what we do. And then I go, by the way, you're here. Let's fix your chip. And it's like, oh yeah, this is cool. I like this guy. I'm cool with that, And so I'm telling stories. I'm telling the story as often as I can, whenever I can. And that creates the deep relationship and the want to do business. So That would be some advice there.
Fantastic. And yeah, I've seen so many very good examples of establishing the rapport and the connection first before you get to anything about the business. And then all of a sudden, the conversion rates are so much higher because they know who you are as a person, not just some stranger standing up saying that story or that joke that a Pauly Shores would have given. Yep. That's fantastic. Yep. That's a true statement.
Well, and the 45-minute webinar that sold my windshield repair course was my story. How did I get into the gas station? How did I do this? I tell that whole story. And by the end of it, they're just going, man, I like this guy. He is legit. He's been in the trenches. He did it. I want him to show me how to do this. They could go buy a windshield repair kit anywhere. There's a bunch of places that sell them. They could go on YouTube and get the training. They could figure out how to do it. But they wanted to do business with me because of that story and because I connected with them on a human level.
Ike, right? Ike does that really well. He did that well in Istanbul as well. So
yeah, I got the good training, heckling the tourist, I guess. But I also know a lot of tech founders I met in my circle. In the early days, tech founders are the ones like they go find the customers, they personalize, they sell. It's like founder-led sale always happens because like it's like they start with their own journey. It's like, right, like I am
Yep.
like even with
The
my new
story.
business, we talk about a lot about why we started this, why we're doing this, why are we trying to help people this way. It always starts, and then when the company is scaling up a little bit, like when the founder led switches to your AEs and SDRs and all that, so you have to be thoughtful about this. Like you have to educate the customers a little bit either on their branding or on your website, or you have to your AEs needs to tell your story. Founders needs to visit the big customers and then do it in personally. You cannot outsource to the like there are like
100%.
you start with this, but you don't lose it. Like there's a way to
Right.
scale it as well, and like scaling doesn't mean like when you pass the founder-led sales doesn't mean you're gonna stop telling the story, right? Like, do you feel
Perfect,
that? Like I
because
think you're at that stage, right?
100%. And this and that goes back to how do you scale authenticity? How do you scale? And that's the difference. What'll happen in founder-led sales is they'll go, I want sales guys now to sell my product. And now they think they don't realize that the magic has come from the story. And so they train the sales guys on the logistics of the product, the cold hard boring stuff about the product, and they think that that's what's actually selling, and it's not. It's the relationship. And I've been blessed with people that get that. Justin is one of my guys that came in after I brought the company to 100,000 MRR. I went and found Justin, and Justin has that same mindset. And it's just the same with the windshield repair. I scaled my authenticity by taking that 45-minute video and sending it to thousands of leads over time, and they're getting that authenticity through that. One of the things we teach in Chirp to home service businesses, they run into the exact same problem. The moment they become you start an HVAC company and you're crushing it, right? You're selling, and all the people love you because they go, hey, that's my guy. Oh, call him. He's my guy. That's my guy. That's my guy. But the moment you get too big to where now you have to level up, get employees, there's a coldness that comes from that corporate structure that magic goes away.
Yes.
And so what we teach in Chirp is we say, well, you've got to automate as much as you can of that authenticity. And so what we'll do is, like, when somebody books a call with let's say your Ike's HVAC, right? Somebody goes on your website and books. You can't pick up the phone and call every single time and be like, hey, I'm Mike. I'm the owner. Thank you so much for booking with me. I really appreciate it. I'm a family-owned company. These are my kids. And you can't do that every time. You get 100 calls a day, and but what you can do is you can automate a text message with a video of you saying the exact same thing. You send out a video. Hey, I'm Ike. I just wanted to say thank you so much for booking with us. I wanted to tell you a little bit about our company. I started this company from scratch. We fought tooth and nail to get to where we're at. These are my kids, this and that. And you create this authenticity, scalability at that point. And so as founders, if you can latch on to that and say, when I do want to make the transition from founder-led sales to a sales team, first, you have to put in the work. That's the part that I made a big mistake the first 3 years. I tried to just immediately get sales guys, tried to immediately hire sales guys without me developing a sales process. And so they couldn't sell it. We couldn't sell it. It took us forever to figure that out. It was like, so I finally scratched that, and I led sales to 100,000 a month. Then I took that story and I built on it. And now the sales guys tell that story in the presentation, right? And so now we know what sells. We know that telling people about the features and the where to click and all the cool things about that does not sell. It's important that we get to that point, but what sells is the human connection. And I would say 90% of our sales are people that go, I don't really know what it was, but I sure did like those guys and felt right. So we're doing it. So
fantastic. Hey, we don't have much time. There's one question I'm dying to ask, and everyone's going to ask. Yeah. How did you fund the growth without taking outside money? It's hard. Most of the engineers are front loaded. Anything that's required to support the customer is front loaded. So what did you learn that allowed you to do something that almost everyone thinks is not normal, since you bucked the norm trend?
I borrowed a little bit of money to cover, at the beginning. We paid that back, and that was to just like barely make ends meet. But we have scaled and grown. Like, I didn't have a template for software. I didn't know about how venture capital works. I didn't know, I didn't come into this from a traditional, hey, go raise a bunch of money, get it to these metrics, and then turn around and sell it. I didn't understand any of that. I understood if I sell something, I should make enough money to cover my expenses and make a profit. Like, it was if it costs me this much to sell it, I gotta sell it for more than that, right? If it costs me $1, I gotta sell it for more than $1 to make some money. So I always approached it from a profitable perspective, and just always focused on growth with as money came in, reinvest that money into growth, but not from, some piggy bank from the top. It's been natural growth, and it really just, I think a lot of it came from not knowing that the other way was a thing, and just and just having this like normal approach to business of just be profitable. Like, isn't that the point? And so I slowly, it's funny because that we went from 100,000 a month to 700,000 or 800,000 a month in 3 years. So to, from $1 million to 10 million in 3 years. And it's been the whole time only based on revenue coming in. And we've only reinvested money that's come in. We had a partner invest because he's one of the biggest he is the biggest home service company in the country. And he came in and he said, I want in on this business. And we said, we want you because like your face alone is a big part of the story. So he gave us a few $1 million, and we have yet to be able to even deploy that, because every time we do, we become more profitable and we spend that money. And so we're just, it's a mindset around being profitable from day one. Maybe there's other ways to do it.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah,
but I don't know how to do it the other way. So I just do that.
It's a blessing. It's the right way to go. It's a hard way to go because you have to defer for a lot longer. Personal take. One of the biggest things I've learned from my own mistakes was that I had to feed family. And so what did I do? I had a great idea. Let me get some money to test out this hypothesis versus let me keep an outside job with some income stream coming in and do this on the side until it meets its own profit capabilities and growth capabilities.
Yeah.
That's what everybody here nowadays just jumps in. And I always caution, have two things going.
I would add to that early on when I started my windshield repair business. I went to the guy that loaned me the money, that eventually loaned me the money for Chirp. I went to him about my windshield repair business, and he said something that really clicked for me. He said, if I give you $50,000 right now, it'll take away a level of discomfort that's required to design a model that is profitable. Because if you're too comfortable, you will fall too quickly back to the money to solve the problem. If you don't have the money, your brain will solve the problem without it. If you do have the money, you'll fall back to the money because it's painful to solve problems. If you have money, it's too easy to fall out. So I look at that at scale. If somebody gave me 100 million and said, go build this thing, I would continue to fall back to that piggy bank anytime things got hard. And I would try to throw money at problems. And that does not create a profitable system. Your brain has the ability to create a profitable system if it's placed into the fire, into an uncomfortable, you have to be uncomfortable for a while for your brain to work in a way that will develop a profitable system.
I love it. It is a true comment. It's not dissimilar from raising children. You have to
Right.
allow
Yeah.
that. You have to allow that discomfort
Exactly.
to
Yep.
deliberately
100%.
craft their spine of confidence from hard things and figuring things out in that moment of discomfort. I love that. I'm writing quotes as we speak, as you speak. Great. So you've grown it to this point, and you have you have an advantage in your skill of reading people and guessing where they are. Never mind the comedian background. When it comes to leadership, what have you figured out? What does it take to be able to have people stay with you through thick and thin? Because you've had to go through thick and thin, and had to have their
Yeah.
loyalty. How have you been able to manage that with very little money?
So one of the things that has lately I've started to understand is leadership requires pain. And when people see that you are willing to go through the pain, they will follow you. If you are not willing to do the things it takes to get to where you need to be, they're not going to follow you. And that's where I struggle with the money thing. If people have too much money in a business, it's hard to get the respect necessary for loyalty. They have to see you in the trenches. They have to see you taking arrows and taking shots. Mel Gibson in Braveheart was in the front with his sword, bloodied up and fighting. You have to be out there, and you have to be willing to take every bit as you're expecting them to take. And if they can see that, if they can feel that and know that, they will latch on. The other part of that is the authenticity that comes into play here. You don't have to play up anything. You don't have to try to fake anything. You have to show them that you're willing to put in the effort, and that you love them and that you're grateful for their effort and their time. And you show them that regularly. You show them deep gratitude through authenticity, and you'll build loyalty.
Fantastic. Absolutely dead on. We are not dissuading our viewers and listeners from fundraising. What we're saying is the discipline of operating profitably is always the best way, if possible. Yes, we have to test our thesis. Yes, we have to test our a metal. But if you can, ideally, I'd love everyone to have Ryan's overnight success formula.
Well,
Ryan, you were gonna say something.
I'll add to that on the fundraising. That yes, absolutely, fundraising can be powerful, but your mindset still if you have the mindset like this, you'll respect the money much more. You'll be able to treat it with much more care than you would. I can raise money now with this mentality because people can see that I am a good steward over the funds. So that is a big thing. The mindset around that is important. So I wouldn't say don't raise money. I would say don't raise money if you don't have this level of discipline to treat it in a way that would, with that level of respect.
Oh, what an ending. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Yeah, we ran out of time. Oh, beautiful, pithy comment at the end. Thanks, Ryan. Much appreciated. Any comments?
Ryan, please come back to the show. By the time you come back, if you had an exit, you can be the comedian, stand-up comedian. If
yeah.
if it's not if you haven't exited yet, we can talk about from now and then that scale.
Yep. If I'm back on the show, I haven't exited yet, because once I exit, you'll never hear from me again.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Ryan,
have a great day.
CEO of Chirp. Until next time, hope you guys can share this with other people who are listening and needing this great advice. Thanks again. Bye-bye.